Welcome to this new edition of the European Report. There is hardly a week that goes by without a new anti-Semitic attack in Europe. In this month's European Report, we are going to look at the rise of Jew hatred in Europe by focusing on two EU member states, namely the host country of the European Union, that is Belgium, and one of the new EU, I would say new, it's already since 2007, that is Bulgaria. And to discuss this topic, we are joined today by member of the European Parliament, Andrey Kovatchev, from Bulgaria, a member of the European People's Party political group, the largest in the European Parliament, and a member of the influential Foreign Affairs Committee. He has been consistently re-elected as a member of the European Parliament since 2009. And with us also Volker Vandermolen from Belgium. Volker just completed the 5th edition of the European Coalition for Israel Young Leaders Academy and is here today to represent the young leaders of European Coalition for Israel. Thank you both for joining me today. My name is Yossi Lempkowicz and this is the European Report. Let me start with you, MEP Kovatchev. Bulgaria has historically had a special relationship with the Jewish people, especially in relations to the Shoah, the Holocaust. Can you share more about this topic with our viewers?
This is a unique story in this dark time of the Second World War and before, during the Holocaust, where the Bulgarian population never understood why they should be against the Jews. I mean, we are living with many ethnicities in our country for centuries, and we had a very good cooperation and coexistence with them, so there was no possibility of the Nazis to impose such anti-Semitism in Bulgaria. This is why different layer of our society in this dark time of the Second World War decided that they are not going to follow what Nazi Germany requested, the deportation of the Jewish population from the territory of the Kingdom of Bulgaria. And from the king through the church and a large part of the population, all of them work in this direction to say no to the deportation and to avoid that our compatriots, the Jews, are going to be sent in the concentration camps. And we are proudly sharing this example with the whole world. After the communist regime took over, the biggest part of the Jewish population went to Israel and was the part of the founding fathers of the new state of Israel. And again, we have this bound very close and very strong.
So this was unique in Europe regarding during the World War II, I understand.
This is unique that we could save the whole Jewish population, and one of the very few examples in Europe where the Jewish population during the Second World War was more after the war than before the war. Although Bulgaria was under extremely heavy pressure from the Nazis to send the Jewish population to the concentration camps.
I have a follow-up questions. Today, how is the situation of anti-Semitism? Is it still a problem in Bulgaria? There were also elections recently. Can you share something about this in relations to this anti-Semitism? Is there anti-Semitism in Bulgaria?
Compared to other countries, in general, Central and Eastern European countries, and now especially Bulgaria, we are preserved from this anti-Semitism violence. But we must say, because of the geopolitical development in the Middle East and the very aggressive, I would say, communication campaign of the one side, namely the Palestinian cause, presenting the Israeli positions as aggressive, is starting to have some effects, especially dangerous for me, and I'm happy that we have a young person here in universities, where if you present this only one-sided without the history, and history matters. I mean, we need to always to see what's happened after the Second World War and why there was no established the two states those days, and how this and which country started the war against Israel, and how much was invested in terrorism, especially after the so-called Islamic Revolution in Iran and the proxies of Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and all others. But back on your question, we preserve the peace, and there is no open violence against Jewish in my country. But related to this geopolitical development in the Middle East, there are some movements saying that Israel is the perpetrator of violence in Gaza, and this need to be stopped.
How many Jews live today in Bulgaria?
I cannot tell you exactly. I mean, during the Second World War was about 55,000. Much bigger part of them went to Israel. The communist Jews who collaborated with the dictator, with the communist dictatorship, they stayed in Bulgaria. And nowadays maybe around 10,000, but I'm not sure.
You mentioned a young person that we have today, Volker. As I mentioned in my introduction, you have just completed the European Coalition for Israel Young Leadership Academy, and you are one of 100 young leaders who have gone through this program to equip emerging leaders to combat anti-Semitism in all its forms. Can you share with our viewers why you, as a young Belgian, non-Jewish Belgian, decided to attend this academy, and how do you see the situation for Jews in Belgium today?
First of all, thank you for having me on the program today. One of the first reasons I decided to attend the European Coalition for Israel Young Leaders Academy is because I increasingly felt that anti-Semitism is not just a Jewish issue. It's a broader test of the democratic foundations of Europe, of our European values. When it comes to Belgium, I think we have to stop pretending that it is a marginal problem. The reality is that many Jews in Belgium no longer feel completely safe being visibly Jewish. When synagogues and schools and community centers require military protection just to function, normally that should alarm every Belgian. Not only the Jewish community, and what worries me the most is not only the physical attacks, but the normalization of anti-Semitism. We increasingly see conspiracy theories and anti-Semitic online discourse to be cycling into what is then public institutions and universities, like the MEP said. And that is the thing that worries me the most, and that is becoming mainstream. And history teaches us something very clearly. Anti-Semitism never stops with the Jews. Never. It's the first warning sign of a society that is getting sick, undemocratic, and totalitarian. It's the saying goes that the Jews are the canary in the coal mine. I believe that is true, definitely in Belgium. Belgium always prided itself on tolerance and coexistence, but in my view, those values are of very little meaning when a Jewish man can't wear his kippah in certain neighborhoods in Belgium. when Jewish kids get attacked at their way to school, I think those values are of very little meaning to some people. And I believe in broader that in Europe, including Belgium, we are in the question of a fundamental question. We have to choose either we're going to confront anti-Semitism as the problem that it is, a fundamental problem, or we're going to let the situation evolve to a moment that it's beyond repair. And that's why I think that it's important for young leaders and young people to come together, because we see that radicalization is coming from a lot of young people who go to social media and get that anti-Semitism rightly into their mainstream view. And that's why, as a young person, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
When Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever says that Belgium is not an anti-Semitic state, this is nonsense, he said. Do you agree with this?
In part, I think that if you say Belgium is an anti-Semitic state institutionally, no. But I think we have a cultural problem. I think there is little sympathy for the Jewish community. I think we don't have the Jewish view. When it comes to the circumcision issue, when all the major Jewish organizations say this is an issue, then it's an issue. Then it's not just some minor group that doesn't want it. So I want to say this very clearly, Belgium has an anti-Semitism problem.
Just to remind the viewers that you mentioned circumcisions, there was a decision by Antwerp prosecutor to prosecute two Mohels, circumcisions, and to bring them to the court.
Yes, so they were they're being prosecuted because Belgium does not have a legal way to perform circumcision without a doctor.
Yes.
But absolutely, it's a religious freedom, and we're fighting for that. Because if Belgium takes that away from the Jewish community, a lot of Jewish friends have said to me, then there is no Jewish community anymore. So we're going to fight, and we're going to fight, and we're going to keep fighting.
Thank you. MEP Kovatchev, how would you explain the reason behind the dramatic surge of anti-Semitic violence in Europe? We saw it in England, Golden Greens attacks, we saw it in Amsterdam, we saw it in Belgium also, Liège, Antwerp, in recent years, in France also, recent years and months. And how do you explain the fact that Jews, by and large, are safer in Bulgaria, you mentioned it, and other countries in Central and Eastern Europe than in Belgium and other parts of Western Europe? How do you explain this?
I mean, we need to be very open, honest on this. And now I will touch upon some very sensitive topics, which are also political topics that we, as the young colleague mentioned, the freedom of religions, for example. However, we are going sometimes too far. I visited a few months ago for the United Arab Emirates, and with a meeting with Sheikh Abdullah, with the foreign minister, and he said to us, "You are doing a mistake with my religions, and I'm afraid to send my children to Germany or to Belgium because the risk that they are going to be radicalized is very, very high." And we need to have a democratic control of what is taught in all religious institutions, in all religious denominations. And we need also to wake awareness that we have a problem. And a democracy means that your freedom stops where you go and endanger the freedom of your neighbor. And you cannot be living in a free democratic country like in a close fundamentalistic country like, for example, Iran or Afghanistan or whatever, or other countries. So yes, freedom of religion, but also this has borders, and And now the communication topic. I think that democracy is a bit weak, and our immune system as democracy is too weak to go against those circles who are misusing the freedom of expression, the freedom of media, and especially the social media, by spreading whatever they like to spread. Hate speech, showing who is the enemy, and first the Jewish are the bad persons, and they are the same pattern actually like during the Nazi Germany. I mean, they are controlling the finance, they are controlling the politics, and they are behind the scenes, so to say, controlling everything. And we need to protest and to wake up against them. Very dangerous situation. So wake up awareness of education in the primary school, in the universities, in the family. I mean, family has also a huge responsibility how you raise your children in tolerance and democratic values, in solidarity, but also, again, to say history matters. And who control the narrative of history control the present days and the future. If you allow a falsification of historical facts to be present now and use as an argument to be against one or other group in the society, then you will not have a very good future.
So radicalization is a problem. Also hate speech is a problem in Europe.
Social media.
Social media, yes. Volker, as a young person who is supportive of Israel and the Jewish community in Belgium, today what are the big challenges that you are facing in this regard? Is the current Belgian government, we already spoke about this, is it helpful in supporting your cause?
So, as a young person who openly supports Israel and the Jewish people, I think that the biggest threat to us is that the hate towards us has become socially acceptable. And this no longer is limited to like radical fringe groups. It's the mainstream that is now pushing a narrative towards us in our schools, universities, media organizations, cultural organizations, and they are portraying us as morally wrong for standing with Israel. And I think that is the big problem, because if you have moral right, you have a moral wrong. And moral wrong, you have to fight. So they are portraying us as morally wrong. And it goes beyond criticism of Israeli policy in Belgium. It goes very openly against everything that Israel stands for. It goes against Western values. It goes against the idea of a Jewish state. That's what flatters me the most after October 7th, is that now people in Belgium are denying the right to exist of Israel. And they are not doing this on some radical podcast or some radical newspaper. No, it's mainstream. It's on the public broadcast. And that's what worries me the most, and I want to say this very clearly as a Belgian citizen, that is that Israel has a right to exist. Israel has a right to protect its citizens. Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people. And we have an obligation to stand with the Jewish people. Israel is a democratic ally in a region dominated by authoritarian dictators and terrorism. And for my Iranian friends as well, Israel was one of the only countries that was willingly to stand up to the Islamic regime, not the European Union, not all those countries who claim human rights and women's rights. No, Israel and the United States. We have the Iranian embassy in Brussels still functioning as it was before. A Belgian professor is still in prison in Iran. The Iranian ambassador has not been sent home. That's a problem. And I experienced this climate personally in high school. After the October 7th, I decided to wear a yellow ribbon pin in solidarity with the Israeli hostages. And when I got to school, they said to me, "Oh, this is a polarizing item." And I asked them why. And this showed the double standard that is in Belgium today. Sympathy for Israel is regarded as wrong. Even if you just talk about Israeli victims, it's wrong according to the state. And the fact is, in Belgium, Hamas is tolerated. Hamas is being excused. They even view Hamas as a legitimate actor in this conflict. And I want to say it very clearly, Hamas has no place, not in Belgium, not in the European Union, never. And I'll end with this about the Belgian government. The Belgian government has failed us. It has not only failed the Jewish community, it has failed the pro-Israel community. And this is the thing, politicians can speak about fighting anti-Semitism, but that doesn't translate to actually fighting anti-Semitism.
Thank you, Volker. MEP Kovatchev, what can the European Parliament, you're sitting here since 2009, what can the European Parliament and national parliaments also do to put an end to this wave of Jew hatred? Or do you think that the battle is already lost, as a lot of Jews are thinking also of leaving Europe?
Well, European Parliament is doing a lot. Okay, we have a lot of resolutions on this. We are standing against hate, and we are supporting Israel in many resolutions. We have a lot of commemorations, celebrations here with the President of Israel in the years before. But it's not enough. I mean, we can have also 100 new resolutions. This will not change what was just mentioned by the young colleague, that on a national and regional level and in the communities, in the educational institutions, need to raise awareness what is morally good or bad. And yes, we need. They need to know the objective historical facts, and not the falsification and the manipulation of, especially of young,
the context
of young people. The context about what? Because indeed, it's not anti-Semitism if somebody criticizes Netanyahu, for example, that and many also Jewish people, Jewish citizens are doing this. This is absolute fine. But if you deny the existence and the security of the state of Israel, this is already very clear anti-Semitism. Okay, we can have differences, even myself, differences with some Israeli politicians on what could be the future, but the most important is the security guarantee for the state of Israel, and for sure, and we need to be very clear, yes, the future of the Palestinian people as well. This is something which need to go hand in hand, and we should support this reconciliation. And I'm wishing a lot of success to my dear friend and colleague Nikolai Mladenov, who is now the High Representative for Gaza. Yes. And in this board of peace, and hopefully the disarmament of Hezbollah and a civil Palestinian authority which is not linked to Hezbollah could contribute with international support to the reconstruction of Gaza, and future also to the calming down the situation there. And very, again, I will do it for the third time. School books, textbooks, this is a topic which we have almost every day in the in our budget control, yes, and in our foreign relations committee.
Also recently.
Textbooks, Palestinian textbooks should not be anti-Semitic and should not present the history wrongly, and not teach the young generation to hate their neighbors. This is something which is valid for Europe, and we had a good example after the Second World War between France and Germany, for example, or Germany and Belgium, enemies and a lot of hate, but the great idea of the European Union contributed to the normalization of the relations, and now there is no any more hate between those nations who was in fight during the Second World War.
We have to wrap up this report in 1 minute. What is your message, MEP Kovatchev, to the young generation, especially to Volker? You listened to him, and who has chosen to stand up, as he mentioned, against anti-Semitism and for Israel here in Belgium. In 1 minute.
I mean, we should learn from each other, as it's not something that I'm teaching the young generation. I listen very carefully what Volker is telling me as well. And we should invest a lot in our neighborhood, our community, our educational institution where we are living, our friends, family, by raising awareness what we are talking about historically and present day, and that we would like prosperity and peace for all people living in the Middle East, but also in our communities, especially in big cities like Belgium, for example. There should be not areas where people are afraid to go. There should be in Paris or in Amsterdam or in Rotterdam, also not such area, and peaceful coexistence of different religious denomination should be guaranteed by democracy, and this is why we have a very special committee here with the name of Democratic Shield, a European Democratic Shield. What is allowed and what is not allowed, because democracy do not means that everything is allowed and everything is free, even in the online world. Everything what is offline forbidden should be also online forbidden.
That was all for this edition of the European Report. Thank you, MEP Andrey Kovatchev and Volker Vandermolen, for this very interesting discussion on the dramatic rise of anti-Semitism in Europe and what the EU and European governments should do to cope with this increased attacks against Jews and Jewish life on the continent. To our viewers, as always, if you like our program, please feel free to share the YouTube link with your friends and colleagues. My name is Yossi Lempkowicz, and this has been the European Report. See you again next month.